to get a consent agenda adopted, please. Sorry. Moved. Seconded. Any further discussion? See none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. We'll now move on to legislative reports and Anmore 5-year financial plan bylaw. Ms. Elrick.
Thank you. So this was before council at the last regular meeting, and the recommendation would be that council adopt Anmore 5-year financial plan bylaw number 642, 2021.
Someone to move that? Moved, seconded. I'll open up for further discussion. See none. I just wanted to make one final comment. A big thank you to the Finance Committee and to councils and staff who worked diligently in regards to providing one of the lowest tax rates throughout the region that we've been able to pass on to our residents during these challenging times. And I think it's a tribute to all the hard work that council, Finance Committee and staff have done in regards to this. So I'm very, very proud of this budget. And I will now call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Now move on to the Anmore Solid Waste Management Amendment Bylaw. The recommendation would read, or Ms. Halliwell, sorry.
No, that's fine. This is actually sort of in reference to the financial plan bylaw, and the rates for both solid waste collection as well as the next item on the agenda, our water rates, were reviewed as part of the budget presentation at the March 16th regular council meeting. So the solid waste fees are going to be increased by 2% based on the budget, and this amendment to the bylaw will just enable that. And the recommendation is that council grant first, second, and third readings to Anmore Solid Waste Management Amendment Bylaw 639, 2021.
Get someone to move those. Moved, seconded. Any discussion? See none. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Carried unanimously. We'll now move on to the Water Rates and Regulation Amendment Bylaw. Ms. Halliwell.
Thank you. So as just mentioned, the water rates are reflective of what was presented in the March 16th regular council meeting financial plan presentation. Water rates are looking to increase by 2.4% for 2021. And this is the amendment to the bylaw that will enable that. And the recommendation is that council read first, second, and third readings to Anmore Water Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw number 640-2021.
Someone to move that. Moved, seconded. Any discussion? See none. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? It's carried unanimously. We'll now move on to the Parcel Tax Roll Review Panel Bylaw. And Ms. Elrick.
You're muted, Ms. Elrick.
Sorry about that. So this bylaw was before council at the last regular meeting to establish the parcel tax roll review panel that will then review the parcel tax bylaws that are also being proposed with respect to the AGE, and also to appoint members. The recommendation is that council adopt the parcel tax review panel bylaw 641, 2021, and that council appoint 3 members of council to the parcel tax roll review panel and 2 more members of council as alternate to the review panel that would meet once per year.
Good.
So Mayor McEwen, maybe I'll just jump in. So for clarity, the review panel, would be appropriate and is quite typically in other municipalities, members of council that are appointed, and the review of the tax roll itself is somewhat of a formality in terms of being able to apply the parcel tax to the 50 properties at Anmore Green Estates. And through some previous discussion, I'm happy to share the recommended appointees for both the regular review panel and the alternates, if you like.
Please.
So we had recommended that Councillor Trowbridge, Councillor Creer, and Councillor Weverink sit on the parcel tax roll review panel, and that Mayor McEwen and Councillor Laidler are the alternate members to the parcel tax roll review panel.
And this panel will only probably sit once a year. It's a sort of a formality process, is it not? Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah, it just provides an opportunity for review and for any member of the public who's impacted by the parcel tax to have an avenue to raise any concern they might have.
Good. So can I get someone to move that recommendation? Moved, seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, carried unanimously. Okay, we'll now move on to the Anmore Green Estates and School District 43 Local Area Service Parcel Tax Establishment Bylaw. Ms. Elrick.
Thank you. So this bylaw is actually two bylaws that will enable the village to collect the costs associated with the Anmore Green Estates sewer project that were previously outlined in the local area service bylaws that were adopted by council in 2020 of February and in 2021 of February. So the first bylaw is to enable the village to collect and then subsequently remit over a 5-year period, the $140,000 to School District 43 for the use of the land in order to operate and lay the sewer connection. And then the second bylaw is related to the local area service that was adopted in the beginning of February of 2020. And that's related to the ongoing operating costs. So the recommendation before you tonight would be that council grant first, second, and third readings to Anmore Green Estates Local Area Service Parcel Tax Establishment Bylaw 644/2021, and that council grant first, second, and third readings to Anmore Green Estates and School District 43 Local Area Service Parcel Tax Establishment Bylaw 645/2021.
Could I get someone to move that? Moved, seconded. Any discussion? Councilor Reverend.
Sorry. Just confirming, the reason we're having two is because we're dealing with two different parcels of land. Is that the reason?
Right. So the first bylaw encompasses just the AGE properties.
Right.
And then that's to collect the $140,000 over the 5-year period. The second bylaw encompasses both AGE and the school district, as there is some cost associated with the school district for the connection fees and the operating costs as well.
Okay, I understand.
Good. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Good. Okay, we on to 11A, new business, to the telecommunications pole proposed locations. Report from Ms. Halliwell.
Thank you, Mayor McEwen. So this report is coming almost a year to the day that it was last in front of council in terms of a proposed telecommunications tower to be placed on village property in order to increase cellular service, as well as provide for an area that the fire department could then install some updated equipment in order to improve communications. And so the staff had been tasked with entering into discussions with Rogers Communications last year about appropriate locations for the tower in terms of maximizing the service range, as well as minimizing any impacts. And so what's included for you in your package today is 3 proposed locations, and they are starting on page 34 of the 35 of the agenda package. And the preferred location, which is deemed to be location number 1, we've actually asked Johnson Davidson Architecture, who's currently working on our detailed designs for the Anmore Community Hub, to do a bit of a rendering to show visually what it would look like when it is installed, if it were to be installed in this particular location. So that is the few pages in your agenda package from page 35 through to page 38. And then on page 39, you'll see a secondary location which overlaps where the existing trailers are right now. And that, excuse me, that location would be a little bit further away from Sunnyside Road. However, it would not require any additional tree removals in order to facilitate its installation. And the last proposed location on page 40 of your agenda package really sort of pushes it up against Sunnyside Road, but would require some additional tree removal. The benefit with going with the option 3 versus the option 2 is that it provides a little bit more ability for the use of that future space once we're moved into the Anmore Community Hub and the existing trailers are removed. So we're not sure what we might want to do with that in the future, but certainly if we've got a communications pole installed there, if it's impeding the area in any way, then it would limit what we're able to do. In any event, the preferred location is actually going to be directly south of the existing trailers and close to Sunnyside Road as well. And that you can see in the drawing on page 38. The tower itself is sort of that three-pronged image. And as I said, we've got some renderings here as well. From a staff perspective, we're obviously embarking on this new Anmore Community Hub, and we feel that the installation could impact the construction. They'd certainly have to be working around it, but also that it may be of benefit to wait until the building is constructed before considering its final location, preferred location. So we have a few options within the report. I'm happy to read out the recommendation, or council can certainly have some discussion prior to the proposed recommendation being put on the floor.
Let's, with this one, there's so many different recommendations that you put forth. Let's have open up to council first to see what direction council is heading at this point. So thank you for the report. I'll go first to Councillor Trowbridge.
Thank you. Yeah, page 38, the windmill there appears just off the corner, just off the southeast corner of the existing trailer. And when you go to page 39, where the Rogers proposed compound is sitting inside the trailers, then the preferred location is directly south, exactly south. I don't understand why that disparity in the two preferred locations.
Yes, apologies. So we've provided Rogers Communication with these drawings from Johnson Davidson Architecture. And the one that you're referring to on page 39, where it's more directly south and not southeast of the trailers, was an original I proposed location. We since moved it. So you can just look at the red box on that page 39 and ignore the windmill. And then the windmill is the correct one on page 38 of the agenda.
Okay. Now the renderings, the JDA renderings are of the southeast corner windmill.
Correct.
Correct. Yeah. So if we did go, for example, with the Rogers recommended one that is closest to Sunnyside, which would cause one or more trees to come out, do we have a sense of whether that would be more or less obtrusive visually when coming up Sunnyside, for example?
We don't have rendered drawings for that particular location. However, I think that council in past has discussed the new intersection that will eventually be created at East Road and Sunnyside with Maury coming straight through once we've finalized the construction of the Anmore Community Hub and moved the trailers. Really wanting that to be sort of, quite a bold statement coming up East Road to that intersection. And I would be of the opinion that if the tower was located further north than the preferred location, that it probably would visually impact the building a little bit more than it would if it was further south.
From the westbound east.
From that intersection coming up East
Okay,
Road.
that makes sense to me. Okay, that's all my questions. Thanks.
Any other questions? Councillor Weber.
Yeah, I'm almost thinking I'd like to wait on this until the hall is actually built. It's really hard to tell what this is all going to look like until it's all there. I'm thinking we move forward on the concept, because I would imagine that they're going to have to do a lot of consultation with the community before they can even get a cell tower anywhere, and that's on the provider, correct?
Correct. So I have also included the required communications, which is fairly limited in terms of the federal requirements that any telecommunications company would have to undertake. However, you know, it's council's will if they would like to direct the telecommunications company, in this case Rogers, to undertake any additional public consultation and what that would look like. And I certainly believe that Rogers, if you would like to continue on with this process, would be amenable to undertaking that consultation.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm for any extra than what would normally be required. I mean, I'm certainly in favor of this. I know working at home, I've had a real problem with my cell phone. It's almost gotten to the point where I don't work at home anymore. And I know the fire department really wants this. It's just hard to really visualize. And it's not the tower I'm struggling with. It's that big concrete base. Unless we could turn that into a coffee shop or something, it's hard to get your head around it just looking at it. But, you know, I noticed on page 38, it's kind of impacting the handicap parking. How is that going to be dealt with?
So the JDA would have to make some adjustments to their current design in order to facilitate it if council were to provide direction to install it at that location.
Okay, that's where my head is on this right now.
Good. I'll open up any other further comments from council. I've got a few comments. You know, I do think there's a bit of urgency towards this regarding the Saskatchewan Volunteer Fire Department, who have clearly expressed that their limitations with the radio that they currently have and how much of a benefit this would be. But also I hear from many residents in regards to, you know, the cell services Councillor Weberink had just alluded to. But I think the greatest one is the lack of coverage that we currently have at Bunsen Lake. And this would open up Bunsen Lake significantly. And, you know, as we know, the influx of people that are visiting Bunsen Lake, and I think that's going to just continue to grow. And they're all relying, we all become so reliant on our cell phones nowadays, and they get up there and things happen. I think that I'm with Councillor Weberink. I think that we should start the consultation as soon as possible and let Rogers commence that and do whatever the requirement is under federal guidelines. I think it would be interesting to see what the community has in regards to concerns for this, as well as support for this. Like I said, I've heard from several people that they're very supportive of this, but I'd like to get that process started. And then possibly when we get that back as soon as possible, then we could make a decision. I certainly wouldn't want to lose this opportunity to provide this safety opportunity to the residents, as well as to the fire department, and also to the visitors that are visiting Bunsen Lake. So those are my thoughts at this point. I don't know what recommendation that would be. I'm thinking it would be something to the effect that we authorize or we move forward to allow Rogers or whoever the provider is to hold public meetings, and then furthermore to then evaluate what the feedback is from the residents. I'll move over. Councillor Trowbridge has his hand up. Sorry.
Yeah, just further to what Councillor Weberink was saying, looking on that page 38, you know, JDA is certainly very capable of altering design, but I would not want to see anything that really impeded the handicap parking in that location, because that is upgrade from where able-bodied folks would park and have to ascend some stairs and so on. So we don't want to lose one of those stalls. We don't want to lose easy access. And I don't know, quite frankly, when I was looking at it earlier, I was looking at the structure itself, but Paul's right, the base is like 10 feet by 10 feet and it's encroaching on that. I don't know if we have to have it exactly that area, or if that can move a bit of play with JDA, bit of play with the Paul. I don't know, but we definitely don't want to lose a handicap stall.
I completely agree. Ms. Halliwell, do you have some sort of a
Yeah,
high
I was,
solution?
yeah, I was just following up with your recommendation. I just wanted to get some clarity as well on the consultation. So I understand from council that they'd like to, authorize Rogers to undertake the required consultation and nothing that would be over and above what's required. And if that's the case, then the recommendation could be that council direct staff to authorize Rogers Communications Incorporated to undertake the required consultation for the installation of a telecommunications pole located in the preferred location and report back to council.
I would, if we could just amend that, just to simply say the location, working with JDA, our designer of the Village Hub, to ensure that none of the handicap spots are reduced or impacted whatsoever. Like
Sure.
Councilor Trowbridge said, if we could need to move it over 10 feet or something like that, that would be a wise decision. Working with them, I think they could figure that out quite quickly.
Okay.
I think the first step is just to do the consultation with the public and see where it is, and they can we can go through all the pros and the benefits and concerns that people have. So with that recommendation as amended to work with JDA, can I get someone to move that? Moved, seconded. Any further discussion? See none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, perfect, thank you. We'll now move on to 11B, Port Moody request for contribution to Bedwell Bay Road Study. Ms. Halliwell.
Thank you. This is timely. I just had our group meeting this afternoon with all of the agencies that are impacted by traffic issues in the area with the lakes and the parks. In any event, it looks as though the city of Port Moody is going to be undertaking a fulsome road traffic study along Bedwell Bay Road, and they have reached out to the Village of Anmore, the Village of Belcarra, as well as Metro Vancouver to ask about partnering in that study. And through a review of the work that they're going to be doing and discussion amongst staff at the village, it's been determined that there's likely very little in terms of direct benefit to the Village of Anmore in participating in this study. And further, they're looking at a contribution of almost $15,000 from a monetary perspective to participate as well. Certainly we do have traffic issues within the Village of Anmore. However, the study is of a scope that won't really provide a direct benefit to us in terms of how we could change things to improve traffic and parking within Anmore. And further to that, BC Hydro recently undertook a study at their Bunsen Lake facility that is very similar to that as well, that they've shared with us. So I've got a recommendation that council directs staff to advise the city of Port Moody that although appreciative of the invitation, that the Village of Anmore declines to participate in the proposed Bedwell Bay Road traffic study.
Could I get someone to move that? Moved, seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Halliwell. We've now got, we're on to item 12, items from the Committee of the Whole committees. We have the Community Engagement, Culture and Inclusion Committee.
Sorry, Mayor McEwen, we just have item 11C.
Yep, 11C, sorry. Mr. Boyd, I almost forgot about you. Sunnyside Road and East Road Boulevard treatment. A report dated March 11th, 2021 from Mr. Boyd, our engineer from ISL, is attached. Mr. Boyd.
Thank you, Mayor McEwen. Yeah, so it's a brief report just outlining, as you all know, the sidewalk renewal program is due to be wrapped up pretty quick here. The contract will be back this coming week to place the topsoil, and then we're looking to seed the topsoil afterwards. And so it's a poignant conversation to have here regarding would council like to see wildflower mix put down, or would they like to see a standard grass seed mix put down? Because obviously this is going to have a pretty big impact on the way that the municipality will look going forward. So I think it's a poignant conversation to have in regards to what council would like to see going forward.
Good. Well, thank you very much. And it was at my request that this came forward. I've had a lot of concern from people just in regards to what the wildflowers could, as Ms. Weinberg brought up in the public input. her email in regards to some of the possibly invasive plants. I also can tell you that I've heard lots of nice things in regards to when we did the work around Mawson Creek corner on East Road with the grass and that, and how well it looks and tidy it keeps. I am a little concerned about putting wildflowers next to a road that could entice some of the wildlife to be there eating and may infer with some of the traffic pattern. But I'll open up for council if they have any comments. Councillor Weberink.
Yeah, I definitely would listen to the garden club on this one. I know I've planted these wildflower mixes and they look great first year, and they usually just turn into something else the second and third year. So I would certainly be concerned about invasives and stuff like that. I know the environment committee would be. I would almost be thinking some sort of wild grass would be more suitable. And then I just wanted to make one comment, and maybe I'm going to pick on our engineer a little bit. I know our roads have gotten much safer with these full build-up curbs, but I do find them, as a bike rider, it's a little harder. There's not as much room on Sunnyside and East Road since we've been putting in all these curbs for bike riders. And I know a lot of people that, Anmore's kind of a destination to ride, and we've kind of made it less safe. Even if we had, left the paved shoulder, even a little bit bigger on some of these areas, it's just something to think about moving forward. I quite often ride up to Bunsen Lake, and I've noticed it, the little strip along Sunnyside leading up to the school. I don't know if anyone else has ever mentioned it, but just wondering if there's a better way to do it, or move the curb in even a foot as we move forward.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Boyd, do you have any comments?
Yeah, so in response to that is, you're correct. It is slightly narrower right now compared to where the fog line is, the white line compared to where the end of the asphalt used to be. It's moved roughly about a foot right now. However, to combat that, the grand scheme is that sidewalk will actually turn into a multi-user pathway. So it'll actually become a 3-meter pathway, which will allow for cyclists and pedestrians at the same time. So it'll be way wider to get the cyclists actually off of the roadways altogether. So that spine would hopefully go all the way down to First Ave, all the way up and around Sunnyside and to Bunsen Lake. That's the vision.
So sorry, that would be in addition to the path we already have that we've just built?
So it'd be adding on to it. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, that would be a great permanent solution. So if that's the future, then great.
Yeah.
And I seem to remember you saying something like that before, Chris, but I just didn't understand the details. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. That's all I have.
I've got Councillor Cryer first, next.
Further to the wildflower versus the grass, I love the look of the wildflowers. I think it's absolutely beautiful, but unfortunately it only lasts for about a week. And then it does get quite unsightly because you need to let them do their thing. You can't cut them down. And there is the concern of wildlife and also spreading into private property. So I think it would be good to consult with the garden club if we do decide to go this route, but I'm leaning also towards the neat and tidy look of the grass for this one.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I've got Councillor Trowbridge.
Yeah, I have to make the declaration that I know absolutely nothing about flowers or horticulture or anything like that to begin with. However, what Linda said makes a lot of sense to me. You start putting in multiple seeds and species. I could see the wrong thing getting planted as well. Plus, I could see a pretty laborious upkeep on it. So my preference is clearly grass. I would like to ensure that the way the grass is planted, where its edges are, etc., make it as easy for the works guys as possible in terms of keeping it mowed and clean and tidy. So my preference is lawn, but thoughtfully planted so that it's easy for them to maintain.
Good. I did run it and talk to Mr. Forte, our head of our public works, in regards to the upkeep on it. And he said with the machinery that we have right now, it wouldn't be that difficult to be able to continue on. But so I think the consensus that I'm hearing, Mr. Boyd, is grass it is. Keep it simple. And it certainly, I'll tell you, the work that was done around the Mossam Creek corner and on East Road really, really looks good. So we're looking forward to that extending throughout the village.
It shall be so.
So there is a recommendation here, Mayor McEwen,
Okay.
just to formalize council's direction, and it is that council direct staff to install grass seed mix along the newly created boulevards along Sunnyside Road and East Road to finalize the 2020 Capital Works program.
And you said that's happening by next Friday?
Yeah, so sorry through the chair there. So on Thursday, Friday this week, they'll be up to topsoil and level it all out. And then the following week or so, they'll come back to hydro seed it. So
Okay.
within 2 or 3 weeks, you should have nice, lush green looking grass.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Could I get someone to move that? Move, seconded. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And Mr. Boyd, thank you for the work and also all the work that you and Ms. Halliwell did in regards to that grant, securing those funds from TransLink, because I'll tell you, when this is done, it's going to really, really make the community come alive in regards to extending our pathways. Okay, we'll now move on to 12, Community Engagement, Culture and Inclusion Committee. At the March 11th, 2021 Community Engagement, Culture and Inclusion Committee meeting, the committee made the following recommendation was passed. And that is, I'm going to pass it over to Miss Councillor Cryer.
Thank you, Mayor McEwen. Yes, we have been, at most of our meetings, we do discuss the best way to handle all of our artifacts and the heritage items that we have, and have realized that we need some help. And that there's kind of 3 phases that we're looking at. One is we have everything is cataloged nicely. There are a few items that we need to determine whether or not they are actually archives for Anmore, but we have that. And now what do we do with it? And then we have the conversation about how we will put some policies in place to carry forward on collecting items, which items are important, how we want to catalog those. And then there's that whole gap for probably about the last 10 years that we've missed. So we also want to gather some information based on the policy that we put in for the future to fill in the gaps for the last probably 8 or 10 years when we really haven't been collecting anything. So in our conversations, we realize it's too onerous for staff to do it. It's also not something that we're really qualified to do as a committee. And because we're having less events, we acknowledge that our event budget is not being used. So we're hopeful, and I don't know what the dollar amount would be. I guess that would be a little work on staff to see, maybe discuss a little bit further how many hours might be required, but we're hoping maybe to just shift some of those event funds into a position for someone to do, to gather together the information to put together some policies going forward. And later on then to have the information on how to display them in our new village hall.
Good. Thank you. I think a very, very good point. We have a recommendation that Ms. Elric is going to read out for us.
Sure, thank you. So the recommendation is that council authorize the temporary reallocation of staff resources from special events to creation of a framework for ongoing process to identify and archive records and items of a historic value to the village of Anmore.
Can I get someone to move that? Moved, seconded. I'll now open up for any further conversation. Councillor Laidler.
Are we talking here of reallocating staff members to process and identify the archived records?
If I could jump in through the chair. The idea would be that we have had in past a special events coordinator that we hired on a part-time basis. That person has been temporarily laid off due to COVID and the fact that we aren't holding our events. So we would look to bring her in order to complete this project up until the time that we're looking at the ability for us to hold events again and for her to be doing that work.
Is there any thought or possibility of using, I think there's some federal funds, is there not, that allows for the hiring of young people to work in the village, in the environment? Would that not be possible?
It may be possible, yes, through the chair. I think that, the idea is that the person that we'd be bringing in is already familiar with the village. And so there would be some efficiencies gained in having her brought in as opposed to bringing in a younger student who may need a little bit more oversight from a staff perspective than would be required by this person that we have in mind.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the mayor's report. March 6th, I attended the Share Imagine Gala. Several thousands of dollars were raised for ongoing share services in the Tri-Cities, a really, really great organization. We had the food competition, and it worked out really, really well. Steve Darling did an amazing job hosting the event virtually, and it was really nice. We picked up, you picked up your dinner at the Westwood Plateau as a drive-through. Everything was socially distanced. It was really quite interesting, and really a great night, tons of entertainment and that. March 8th, I attended the virtual International Women's Day. It was a great event, a lot of great guest speakers. It was really enlightening to see where things are going. Finally, or not quite finally, I just wanted to talk about the bus shelters. The covered bus shelters were supposed to be in by now, but they showed up and they didn't have the tempered glass installed in them, so they were sent back to get that done. One will be solar lit, and the other one will be wired into the power. Really looking forward to getting these. I think it's we worked really hard at Translink to secure these as in part of their funding model, and I was able to get 2 of them for a pretty low price for our village. And finally, I just wanted to touch base with everyone and just let everybody know about the cougar activity that's happening within the village. I just want everybody to know that the utmost priority of the safety of all residents is this council's council's mandate, and we are doing everything we can to make sure that everybody feels safe and secure in this community. I'm in talks with conservation on a daily basis. They're updating me as much as they can. They have told me that there is a total of 4 cougars that are in the area. I've since learned this afternoon that one of them got put down in Port Moody. Conservation is putting as much resources as possible. They brought in 2 experts from the interior that deal with this situation to be monitored. They're down here right now looking into the situation, as well as there is a 24-hour conservation officer within an hour's reach here from this moment, or from last week moving forward. Conservation has a bit of a mandate. They don't want to be killing animals. However, with cougars, reallocation is not an option. But they do enlist in Victoria some behavioral biologists that really study these and make the determination of what happens. So I can tell you they're taking this with the utmost sense of priority, and I've really stressed to them strongly how important this is to the village, that we get back to where we as residents can walk in our neighborhoods and not have to be worrying about this. I would tell you that Council's preference is certainly not to be destroying animals. We work really diligently, and we work with the BC Conservation Society in regards to education as we last month had a great educational Zoom call that I think was attended by over 20 people, talking about how to live with nature. Unfortunately, in this case with the cougars, this is, in my perspective, and I think most people's perspective, has crossed the line when a cougar is going to attack a cat that's basically on a 3 to 4 foot leash from a human being. I can't. I know council would speak to this very adamantly, that our residents are very, the safety of our residents are utmost. So I will tell you this: that please be careful. Walk in packs, stay away from walking at dusk to dawn until this situation is resolved, and I will be updating people on a daily basis as I find out more information. Thank you. I'll now move it over to the councillor's report. Councillor Cryer.
Thanks, Mayor McEwen. And I also want to say thank you for all of the time you have put into the cougar situation. I know that it's taken up a lot of time and that you've been working very hard to keep all of us as well as the community updated. And I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I also want to say that I too attended the Share Imagine Gala, and it really was nice. They did a really nice job for a virtual gala. They had some fun ideas where you, like Mayor McEwen said, driving up and getting your food, lots of fun little surprises there. I have yet to hear how much money they've raised. I know they had 50-50 draw and live auctions that went longer than they typically would as one night as a live event. So, but it was very well attended, and it was actually a lot of fun. You got to hear some live music and it felt a little normal. It was kind of fun. Yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, I sat in on a town hall with Jagmeet Singh through the Chamber of Commerce. Again, very well attended. Most of, he just spoke briefly at the beginning, and then it was a Q&A. All of it is recorded and available at the Chamber website or on the Chamber Facebook page if anyone is interested. And then lastly, very important, the CC Committee Coloring Contest. We are in full swing, and you are able to get your coloring pages. They were in the Anmore Times. You can get them through the website or the Village Facebook page. There are 2 options for coloring. You can enter as often as you like. There are 4 age categories. We will be doing a draw on the morning of April 1st, and then we have a very special guest who will be delivering the prizes on your doorstep, the doorstep of the winners, the evening of Thursday, April 1st. So I hope that everyone have an opportunity to get the pictures and do some coloring. And if you have any questions at all, you can reach out to me via my email or my phone. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Weberink.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of echo what you said, Mayor McEwen. I mean, it is a tough situation with these cougars. I mean, we do live in the edge of nature, and I know we hear we're living in their home and their backyard, but the truth is it's also our backyard. And when an animal like that behaves in such a way, I know the young man whose puppy was snatched, I know him very well, and it was a struggle. It was a fight. This was not a shy cat. This was an aggressive animal, and a 20-pound dog could just as easily be a 20-pound kid. And people are going to look at us the other way if we aren't doing as much as we can to solve this situation. And I trust the experts. I trust the conservation officers. We've met with them. They're good people. They don't get into this to hunt animals. That's not what they're about. They don't destroy an animal unless they feel that there's no other option. So I really think we have to trust their judgment and support them in whatever actions they take. I don't want to be on the other end of the situation where a child is taken or harmed or a human being is harmed, and I could have done something about it, but I took the animal's side. I may not be popular with some people, but I'm sorry, people come first, and we have to take care of public safety above and beyond all.
Good. Thank you. Any other comments from council? Oh, Councillor Trowbridge.
Just really briefly, I think I'm on the exact same page. nobody wants to destroy a life of any kind, but human life has to come first. So if we don't have the job of trying our best to protect our residents, then we don't have a job at all. So I think I applaud the steps you're taking, Mayor McEwen, and wholeheartedly support it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Laidler.
We've had 2 meetings of the Public Safety Committee, so we're still finding our way around things. I just want to reiterate that we support everything that you said, Mayor McEwen, in terms of the animals and public safety.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to the Chief Administrative Officer's report. Ms. Halliwell.
Thank you. So with the budget being adopted at tonight's meeting, we'll be moving forward with a lot of the projects now and into the summer months. So we'll be communicating to residents as we need to on those projects. We also have our annual audit coming up in the next couple of weeks here. So staff have been busy pulling the information together needed for that. As I had mentioned earlier in the meeting, I had a discussion with the City of Port Moody Police, RCMP, BC Hydro, Metro Vancouver, as well as the Village of Belcarra in regards to our strategies for the various lakes and park areas in this area. Although there is a change, as I'm sure most of you have heard, there will be pay parking implemented at Belcarra Regional Park and White Pine Beach. The rest of the strategies will remain similar to the way they were last year. We are expecting the same sort of numbers. I know that the City of Port Moody is going to be restricting parking along Bedwell Bay Road effective April 1st. And the Village of Anmore, of course, will be looking to secure bylaw enforcement officer support for the weekends, in particular over the summer months as well. Our RCMP officers are looking to essentially rejig their schedules to enable more coverage within the Village of Anmore and Belcarra as well on the weekends through the summer months. So that's great support from them. And we will be putting in those electronic signboards, which is a 5-way cost share with all those agencies that I mentioned earlier to put the messages up when the lakes are closed. Further to that, both Metro Vancouver and BC Hydro have committed to real-time updates on when the parks are closed. So the village will look to try to share those posts on our own social media, and I would encourage any residents or members of council to do the same. It'll be run through the BC Hydro social media Twitter account. And so we're really gearing up for a similar summer to what we had last year and hoping that with the additional bylaw officers, as well as having Coquitlam Towing up on site, that we'll be able to manage the traffic flow this year. And finally, I just want to highlight that we've been working away, in particular, our communications consultant, Therese Michelson, has been working away on the engagement for the Anmore, for the regional growth strategy and OCP amendment. We're looking to have our virtual open house and our workshops scheduled for the 2 weeks after the Easter long weekend. So starting the week of the 6th. So we're going to be finalizing our communication documents in the next little while here, and then that will be coming out for the residents to sign up for if they're interested. And that's it.
I think you missed one little thing, Miss Halliwell, and that was the Anmore resident parking decals.
Yes, thank you. We are also working on obtaining the parking decals, and we'll be working on the messaging as well that will be going out for people in terms of how they can obtain the decals and exactly sort of what they mean in terms of placing them on their vehicles. So that is being worked on as well.
Perfect, perfect. Well, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to, we've got some information items, some various minutes. Some general correspondence from Metro Vancouver, Ombudsman quarterly report, and that, which is all attended in the agenda. I'll now open up to public question period. Public is permitted to ask questions of council regarding any item pertaining to village business. 2-minute time limit applies to speakers. So if anybody would like to ask any questions, if they could either put their hands up or come off of mute, and we'll do our best.
It looks like Mr. Uvik has a question for us. Go ahead, Mr. Uvik.
Am I on?
You are, yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just a comment on the wildflower discussion. When you voted to install wild grasses and whatnot, I don't think what came up in the discussion was the fact that when those grasses dry out in the fall, they present a significant fire hazard when people drive up and down the roads and flick out their cigarette butts. So that's something that you might want to consider. I didn't hear it discussed tonight, and I think it's an important thing. Yeah, the wildflowers come and go really quickly, nice to look at, but there's also the fire hazard to consider with the wild grasses.
I think I'm sort of under the impression that we're going to be doing a similar grass as what was around the Mossam Creek redesign at the corner there on East Road. So I don't necessarily think they're going to be tall wild grasses per se.
Okay, I just thought I'd bring that up. The other thing that I want to share tonight, am I allowed to?
Yeah.
I'm still concerned about the community hub and the cost and the size of the building that's going to be built. That's one thing that I want to say. And yeah, and also there's also a groundswell of residents, even though they're not present on your meeting tonight, with respect to the development of the IOCO lands. And I know that information has come out and there's a lot of planning sessions coming up and so on, but there's more to come on that. And I think that perhaps, and I'm just suggesting that you're underestimating the feelings of the people in the village of Anmore with respect to that, how you're going ahead with that planning and what you're envisioning for that area.
Well, again, at this point, there is no development plans for that area. All we're doing is changing the classification for different possibilities. The existing development of that area already exists, and I think calculated through our OCP and what was previously from previous councils established as RS1 zoning was about 288 residents, I believe, in there. So we aren't even talking development of that area right now. We're just simply talking as in a regional growth strategy, changing that from what initially was hopefully to be a semi-rural to there seems to be only 3 designations now: industrial, urban, and rural, to something that's more that could diversify our village at this point. And we're actually going to be holding quite a few open houses and really hoping that that we get a lot of public input to be able to rectify a lot of these concerns about development at this point, because we're not even talking about development at this point.
Right. Well, I thank you for that, and I look forward to the public consultation. But bit by bit and slowly, the change is in the works to change Anmore. And what we have now, if you don't want that, you can go over the hill. And I've always said that from day one. And it seems like you're heck bent on moving towards densification. And yeah, that's all I wanted to express tonight.
Yeah, I would I would contend that previous councils already set up certain areas within the village of Anmore that had quite intense density regarding countryside and Anmore Green Estates. So, and we're also realizing as a council the amount of young families that are finally able to come into the community. So these are all discussions that we're going to have when we talk about this redesignation. But I would say that Anmore has already changed significantly over the last 20 years. So I appreciate your comments, and I look forward to having more discussions when this comes forward in regards to our public engagement. Any
That's
other?
great. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Yep.
I'll ask one more time. Any other further questions at all? Oh, seeing none, I guess we will then move to adjourn. Could I get someone to move? Moved. Seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? No opposed? Okay. Good night, everyone. Please keep safe. Keep an eye on your pets.
Nay.
We'll talk to you soon.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.